All right, so just a couple of administrative things to get the meeting started. I'm sure that many of you are used to Zoom after this past year, but I just want to note that this is a webinar format. So if you are a participant, you won't be able to unmute yourself or show your video. However, if you have questions or comments throughout the meeting, you can put them in the chat, which is at the bottom of the screen. So if you don't see the chat, just roll your mouse over the screen, and then the chat should appear, and you can click on it and see what people are putting into the chat. You can post questions or comments there. You can address questions specifically to the panelists. The people who are presenting and some of our board and staff members are on the panel tonight to answer questions that you have. You can also, you can ask questions as the presentations are happening. You can say hi to other members of the meeting. So a couple things that we'd like you to note as the meeting gets started. One is that you should have gotten a copy with the invitation for the meeting of the 2020 annual meeting minutes. If you have any changes or amendments to those minutes, please put them in the chat. Our board secretary is on this call, and he will make a note of any changes that you propose, and we will also note them when the minutes are approved. And as I said, you can also ask questions at any time via the chat. There will also be a Q&A session at the end for any questions that you would like to hold until the end. And I believe that is it. I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Bergen Junge, the Vice President of the Swedenborg Foundation, who is going to be our meeting chair tonight.
Thank you, Morgan. I'd like to welcome you to the annual meeting of the Swedenborg Foundation for 2021. Our first order of business is to have our tellers report to confirm that we have enough proxies to constitute a quorum. We have two tellers who have been assigned proxy votes by members who were unable to be here in person, Lisa Hyatt Cooper and Wendy Klosterman. Could I have the report of the proxies?
Yes, we have received 121 proxy forms from our life and annual members, and attendance of 64 members is required for a quorum. Therefore, attendance is sufficient to open the meeting.
Thank you. Hearing that a quorum has been established, I hereby open the meeting. I'd like to start with our invocation. Reverend Kevin Baxter, who is a pastor of the Church on the Hill in Boston and a member of our board, will now give the invocation.
I would like for us to pause for a moment and reflect on paragraph number 146 from Divine Providence, which I am taking from the little work on overcoming divisiveness that Morgan Beard assembled with the addition of her own meditations. We read, "The hardest battle of all, though, is with our love of being in control. Because of our sense of self-importance, if we overcome this, we have no trouble overcoming our other evil loves, because this is the head of them all." Let us calm our hearts and our minds. O heavenly, divine love and wisdom, who is made known to us most fully in our Lord God Jesus Christ, we give you thanks for the revelation you have given to your servant Emanuel Swedenborg, as we rededicate ourselves to the purpose of sharing that revolutionary message. Let us always remember that our will is not to be done, but yours. Let us free ourselves from passionate extremes through careful contemplation and discussion. Let us always seek to understand the other and find our joy in their joy. Might we understand that our desire to control and having things come out based on our desire leads us away from the union with others and, most importantly, with you. in our meeting and throughout our lives, make us meek of heart and mind, that we may follow where you lead and where your servants have gone before. Amen.
Thank you very much, Kevin. The Swedenborg Foundation president, Dr. Soni Werner, was not able to be here in person, but she is attending remotely and has some words to share to introduce tonight's reports.
Hello, everybody. My name is Soni Werner, and I'm the new president of the Swedenborg Foundation. So welcome to our annual meeting that we're doing through Zoom. And I hope you get a chance to hear a little bit about our past as we say goodbye to some of our former board members who are leaving us this weekend. And also to hear about the present, what's going on. You'll hear from different staff and different board members. And then we also want you to hear about the future. We've invited our 6 brand new board members to each make a short video to introduce themselves, so you get a clue about what's going to be the flavor of the board in the future. So welcome, everybody, and I hope you enjoy what you hear.
Since the beginning, the Swedenborg Foundation has strived to share Swedenborg's works with the world. Launched in 1849, it has kept his works continually in print ever since. In the 20th century, it added new formats to the roster, creating audiobooks starting in 1939 and videos starting in 1968. The New Century Edition, a series of fresh translations launched on the cusp of the new millennium, and Off the Left Eye, an online outreach in many forms launched in 2013, have greatly expanded its audience and impact.
I will be moving off the board this year after my 3rd term, and I just want to thank the Swedenborg Foundation for the time I've spent. I first became a life member in 1980 after spending some years in Africa, visiting some of the many people that received books from this foundation in Ghana. And that was my initial interest with the foundation. I became an associate member of the board in 1996, and then sometime later became a board member. I got the chance to watch the NCE get off the ground and get going. Also Off the Left Eye and many others. I just love all the people I've worked with at the foundation, and I plan to continue my involvement. It's a very important organization, and I just want to thank everyone for the great time I've had with it. Thank you.
Hey everybody, this is Curtis Childs. I am Chief Visionary Officer and Vice President of Programming for the Swedenborg Foundation, and I'm very excited to be here to tell you about some cool stuff going on at the Swedenborg Foundation. Let's start with the Off the Left Eye YouTube channel. Maybe you've heard it. In the last year, we've gotten 7.2 million views there. The year before, we only had a measly 5 million views. So it represents a huge increase in viewership this year. And that viewership has come from 109 different countries. So there's a lot of people all over the world watching Swedenborg-based material. And the fans that we have, they are young, they are old. We have from 13 years old all the way to well over 65. They reached out to us. So they wrote us comments 34,000 times in the last year. So not only do we have the statistics about them, we hear from them personally and the way that their lives are being changed by the stuff in Swedenborg's works. A fun fact, teenagers, so we're talking about 13 to 17, actually viewed our content longer than any other age group. So the average view, if you take all the people who leave right away and those who watch to the end, we averages out to about 30 to 35% of a full episode, which could be anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. But teenagers watched on average 63% of an episode in each viewing session. Plus, across all ages, our fans shared our content on social media. So this is like Facebook, or this is places where people are connected to their own friends and family and inner circle. They shared our content out 33,500 times in the last year. Last summer, we launched offthelefti.com, a brand new website based on our popular YouTube channel. Since then, we've had users view our page 72,500 times. And a key function of that website has been its ability to open up our usage of free Google energy to reach the world. So Google has given the Swedenborg Foundation this thing called the Google Ads Grant. This is $10,000 of free advertising each month that they give to us. And the more effectively we can use it, the cheaper each ad gets. So because we've been able to hone this through our website, we are now the #1 or #2 search result on Google for the following popular topics: John 3:16, which is the most searched Bible verse on Google, what happens when you die, and life after death. So for the span of how long the grant lasts each day, when somebody writes that in, we pop up right away. This is a signifier that, oh, this is something that you probably want to check out. And we've been getting some awesome interest around all of those things. This is just a quick overview of everything cool that's going on. There are a lot of other wonderful developments. We have a growing email subscribers list. We're getting 1,500 podcast listens a week. We just started this thing called YouTube Stories, which are these little 15-second, one Swedenborg idea per clip videos that go out in a different feed to subscribers on YouTube. Where we just started those a month and a half ago. We are averaging 10,000 views per week on those, bringing in new subscribers. So we're doing a lot, but that's not enough. We actually have cool new projects that are going to lead us into the next phase of Swedenborg Foundation programming, and you're going to hear more about those a little bit later in this presentation. Thank you so much. If you can't tell, I love telling everyone about this because I think everyone should know how exciting what's happening really is.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tim Bilger, and I'm the Vice President of Development here at the Swedenborg Foundation. I want to welcome everyone to today's annual meeting. My areas of direct responsibility include all the fundraising and membership-related activities for the Foundation. Our small team, which includes Gwen Williams, donor coordinator, who also, with myself, wears many hats, includes managing our database of members and donors. Without you as members, we would not be able to fulfill our mission each year. And I'm happy to report that year-end 2020, we had 600 current members, and a big thank you to 50% of you who have chosen also to make a gift to us. Each year, we try to raise the bar a bit to increase our participation rate of donors from members up to an ultimate goal of 75%. We are a member-driven organization, but as a not-for-profit, we do depend on financial contributions of outside donors and members alike. I want to offer a few observations from 2020. In 2020, we saw a total of $685,000 raised in cash revenue and was shy of the 2019 results by $110,000. We also saw 302 new donors gifting $22,000. In 2019, we saw 226 donors that were new, and in 2018, 200. So we've seen nice growth in that area. Our donor retention rate, well above the industry averages, at 43%, stands at 59%. And it was 51% in 2019 and 50% in 2018. Donor retention has to do with our ability to retain a donor who's given a first-time gift for giving afterwards. Also, our number of new donors has risen sharply annually as a result of our activity. In 2020, there were 955 donors giving gifts totaling 2,809. In 2019, we had 755 donors giving 1,556 gifts. And in 2018, 687 donors gave 1,246 gifts. Other highlights, including what has gone on both last year, including year to date, is our recurring monthly donor base. We've grown to 70 plus donors, giving over $3,000 monthly. Our Patreon platform, our crowdfunding platform, has 146 current donors giving about $1,400 a month. And our Giving Tuesday campaign this past year raised over $28,000. A note about our planned giving effort is that we have a 1749 Legacy Society, which now boasts 39 members. Actually, 40 members today when I learned about a brand new member that reached out to us. We also initiated a new endowment campaign focusing on raising support for our Off the Left Eye Endowment Fund and our new Jonathan S. Rose Translation Endowment Fund. A brand new feature this year on our website is what we call our gratitude wall and our tribute wall. Gratitude walls where somebody can make a gift and actually leave a message as to well wishes for the staff. It could be a reason that they gave, something that just moved them to make a statement. Our tribute wall is where a donor can come online, make a gift, and then post a name as a memorial or an honorarium, but in tribute of a loved one typically. Some of the challenges and responses to the fundraising during the pandemic. We all knew early on last year that traditional fundraising methods in part were going to need to change. We're not able to physically visit and interact with people such as our donors and constituents. So we knew just that we needed to make a change. We didn't know how long that would occur, but raising funds had to continue nonetheless. So what did we do? Well, we went virtual. We started to organize our events to be virtual where we could gather together through use of technology. We could interact, share good news, and the work on that does continue. And we did it in a few different ways. We conducted what we call regional events. We had a donor, typically a donor, act as a host, and we focused on our donor base in different portions of the country. For an example, we did regional events in the Midwest, based out of the Minnesota area. We did one in the Northwest, based out of the Seattle area, the Southwest, based in the Tucson, Arizona area, and in the Southeast, based in the Northern Florida area. These gatherings provided updates, interactive experiences with each other and our presenters. We also have done virtual tours, small groups and individuals who were invited for what we call virtual tours of our website. Our newest addition is the Off the Left Eye website this past year. We also provide updates to key areas of the foundation's work. Q&A sessions, which followed all of these events, saw very robust conversations. We also had a donor recognition event last October, which is a stewardship event where we thank and share gratitude to our donors for their giving over the past year. We had over 70 attendees for that. All in all, 2020 and year to date, we've done 10 virtual events, 242 participants, and we've received over $26,000 in gifts as a result. Another exciting aspect of our work this year, which has been connected to our online activity, is what we call our live show fundraising. Many of you may have seen that we're doing live shows now related to Off the Left Eye. And we started doing live show fundraising about mid-year last year. And what we've done year to date from mid-year last year is raised 209 gifts totaling over $9,000 from 163 donors. And 63 of those folks were brand new. So we're very excited about that. Finally, we're interested in locating individuals who may be interested in hosting or organizing their own virtual event with us. We're very interested in member and donors who are interested in sharing their story about why they support the foundation. This could be a simple recording on your mobile device, or we could arrange an interview where we could record and share with others to inspire others to give back. For a select few, we are also arranging interviews as part of our new podcast series hosted by our very own Chelsea Odner. You may email me at tbilger@swedenborg.com or call the foundation offices, which is 610-430-3222. My extension is 101, and I'll get back to you very promptly. Again, thank you so much for your support, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this evening's meeting.
Hi, my name is Morgan Beard. I work for the Swedenborg Foundation, and there I wear a lot of hats, but the one that I want to use right now is my publisher hat, which means that I'm responsible for all areas of production that involve publishing books, but also publishing online. So I think one of the things that we get the most questions about is NCE, the New Century Edition, our translation of the works of Emanuel Swedenborg, which is a work in progress of many years. And so to answer your questions about that and what's been happening with NCE over the past year, I'm going to turn this over to Jonathan Rose. He's going to talk to you a little bit more about that.
To sum up the New Century Edition in bare numbers, the NCE series has published 9 deluxe volumes, as well as 13 portable volumes in print and ebook form. The portable print versions have as a whole been reprinted another 24 times. We have completed the publication of 13 out of 18 titles in the series, in addition to having printed 2 volumes of the 15-volume Secrets of Heaven series. Work on the remaining volumes is proceeding well, given the constraints imposed by the small size of our team. A summary of our output in 2020 alone would include the completion in July of the compilation volume, The Shorter Works of 1763 in the deluxe edition. It includes some of Swedenborg's most accessible short explanations of theological themes: the Lord, sacred scripture, life, and faith, traditionally given the joint title, The Four Doctrines. Rounding out the volume is the work Supplements, containing Swedenborg's additions to Last Judgment and Heaven and Hell. In November, we published the Heaven and Hell large print portable edition, and in December, we issued the Shorter Works of 1763 deluxe ebook and went to press with a third printing of both the Lord portable and the Secrets of Heaven Volume 1 portable. The combined sales of units in all categories increased during the year. In 2019, the total number of New Century Edition titles sold was 5,494, and during 2020, that rose to 5,996, bringing the cumulative total unit sales since project inception to 73,295. This does not count the number of free ebooks distributed, which is now in the 6 figures. Another event worthy of note in 2020 was the work of a new editor who was brought on board through a terrific grant specifically made for that purpose. During the year, she was able to delve into our editorial backlog and bring several titles, including Survey and Soul Body Interaction, a giant step closer to publication. We look forward to her continuing to work with us, as we believe that extra editorial power will allow us to publish the translations of Revelation Unveiled Volumes 1 and 2 in the next few years, in addition to the other volumes forthcoming during that period.
One of the things that we do a lot of that we don't often get a chance to talk about is publish books of all types about Swedenborg's thought, about his impact in the world, and helping people really understand how they can live a better life according to Swedenborg's writings. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our publications over the past year. We have on the left here, we recently published a book called Swedenborg's Principles of Usefulness. So this book is about Swedenborg's influence on people, especially in the 19th century into the early 20th century, who were especially involved in social reform and pragmatism and usefulness. How usefulness really changed the way they think about how to create social reform. So if you haven't had a chance to check that book out, please do. That was released back in October. We also have a brand new book from 2020, Overcoming Divisiveness. Overcoming Divisiveness was originally published as a free membership giveaway, so some of you may remember that. But we got so much demand for it and so many requests that we then brought it back as a paid or a for sale book. We also, through a partnership with the Swedenborg Society, carry many of their titles, including brand new releases. One of those new releases is On the Conjugal Angel, which is the transcript of a talk and a Q&A session by A.S. Byatt on her novella of the same name. We also did a number of reprints over the past year. So Worship and Love of God in the old redesigned standard edition translation is now reprinted in paperback to make it as accessible as possible. We also did reprints of Schelling and Swedenborg and Spiritual Recovery, 2 of our popular titles, and released the work You Can Believe as an ebook, which had been previously and continues to be available in print. In addition to books that are for sale, we also have a substantial library of books on our website that are either out of print or currently in print, but available for free download because we found that they're especially helpful for people who want to learn more about Swedenborg. So if you go to our website, and I want to just call out the new design that we introduced last year. If you go to our website and you click on the books, blogs, and videos menu, there's a link that says free ebooks and downloads, and that will take you to a page with all of the books we have for free download, including all of Swedenborg's writings in the New Century Edition and also the Old Standard Edition translations. We added 3 books to that list of books available for download in the past year. One of them is Design of Existence by Wilson Van Dusen, an anthology of essays called Testimony to the Invisible, and a book called Person to Person, The Gospel of Mark by Paul Vickers. So I just mentioned that our website was newly redesigned this past year. Our website, the Swedenborg.com, in addition to offtheLeftEye.com, which was launched last year to great acclaim, Swedenborg.com serves especially as an informational resource for people who want to know more about Swedenborg. And a really good example of how that works happened just recently when Netflix released the film Things Heard and Seen. We saw a real surge of interest in Swedenborg's writings and his philosophy, and we were really excited to see lots of people coming to the site, learning more about Swedenborg, downloading books. So that was a wonderful thing to see. In 2020, over the course of the entire year, we had about 220,000 visitors in multiple sessions who came to just learn whatever they could about Swedenborg and take advantage of the resources that we have there. Also, in the last year, in 2020, we had intended to launch our first ever weekend event. Unfortunately, due to circumstances with which we are all familiar, we had to postpone it. And we made the decision earlier this year that instead of attempting to have a live event, given the ongoing uncertainties, that we would transition it to be a virtual event, at least for 2021. So the Off the Left Eye experience, if you are interested in having an immersive weekend on the theme of becoming an angel, you can sign up right now at offtheLeftEye.com and join us for what promises to be a wonderful weekend. Putting on my hat now as Vice President of Administrative Services, I want to talk just briefly about our finances for the year. If you'd like to know more about any of these, you can download our annual report, which is not yet available but is forthcoming soon from Swedenborg.com, the very website I showed you earlier. If you requested a copy on your annual meeting invitation, then we will mail a copy to you automatically. So with that in mind, let's start by taking a look at expenses. Our single largest program is Off the Left Eye, which accounted for about 42% of our expenses last year. I want to take a moment to note here that between 2019 and 2020, we made an adjustment to the way we account for programs. Before, expenses for Off the Left Eye were lumped in with other types of online activity. But by request, we have now started separating out Off the Left Eye, so the expenses that you're looking at here represent only those program expenses and nothing else. The program expenses for other types of online activity are now included in the new events and education category, which includes things like Swedenborg.com, social media, and also general promotional activities to raise awareness of Emanuel Swedenborg that aren't associated with any other program. Our second largest program is the New Century Edition Translation Project. Last year, that accounted for approximately 18% of our overall expenses. We also, as I mentioned before, publish a number of books in many different formats, and that expense accounted for about 8% of our expenses last year, and the events and education category accounted for about 5%. We also have a number of administrative services or expenses, I should say, in the form of both straight up administration and fundraising. And those two departments together accounted for about a quarter of our spending in 2020. Turning now to income. 2020 was a challenging year for many organizations, but we were really blessed by the generosity of our donors. So most of what we call income for the year is actually drawn down from the corpus of our invested funds. Now, we limit that to about 4.5% to keep it at a sustainable level. We did have to exceed 4.5% a little bit last year, but we also, as I mentioned, were really blessed by a number of gifts from our donors, which really helped to minimize the need to do that in order to keep our operations running smoothly. So our donations accounted for about $700,000 of our budget and our income. We also drew on donations that were received in past years, which can also include pledges that were made in a previous year but weren't paid until this year. So donations by themselves in the current year accounted for about 27% of our income, past year donations for about 5%. We also have income from book sales and other miscellaneous sources, which accounted for about 4% of our overall income. So turning now to our endowment, you might be curious about what's happened to our corpus of invested funds over the past year. As you can see, we started out 2020 very strong, and in February and March, the stock market took quite a dip. It was down below 15 million overall in March, but then began to gradually rebound over the rest of the spring and into the summer and fall. So by the end of the year, the stock market was back up, and we actually ended the year in a better position than we were at the beginning of the year. So we don't anticipate that to disrupt our long-term operations. So that's just a brief overview, as I said, of our finances for 2020. If you have any other questions, you can download our annual report, which will be available shortly, or you can request more detailed financial statements from our business office. You can contact us through our general email or phone number if you're interested in that. Thank you very much.
People have long asked us for a way to systematically go through our Off the Left Eye YouTube content. We're often asked, where should I start, or which videos should I watch first? But it's really a tough question to answer because where someone starts depends on where each viewer is coming from. So in response to this longing for a deeper way to engage with us, we're developing Heaven Lab, a customized learning management system, or an LMS, as a subdomain of offtheLeftEye.com, where people will be able to make an account in order to access courses. For these courses, we are adapting nearly 600 videos from the Off the Left Eye YouTube channel and making them into guided sequences of lessons within courses of study organized by category. Via Heaven Lab, someone will be able to explore and study all of what Off the Left Eye offers in a sequence that best serves their interests. Each of these lessons will include support for how to apply the ideas in life as well, with guided meditations, questions for personal reflection, and prompts for life practice. Participants will be getting a curated experience to help them in the journey of becoming an angel. Through a Heaven Lab membership, participants will be able to connect directly with our amazing community care team, as well as with other members in order to explore the content and grow together spiritually. We're currently building out our lessons and courses, and we'll be launching a beta version to test in the near future. We anticipate Heaven Lab serving as a core feature of our offerings. All the rest of our platforms will be a means for inviting people into this membership so that individuals can delve deeply into these transformative ideas. Heaven Lab will be a means for building heaven inside of each of us, and by way of us, also in our world.
As we on the New Century Edition team look toward the future, we see two exciting new developments. The first is the formation and appointment of a new panel of advisors to the Swedenborg Foundation Board of Directors. Its first members will include our publisher, Morgan Beard, Curtis Childs, who spearheads Off the Left Eye, and the series editor and managing editor of the New Century Edition, or to be more precise, Jonathan Rose and Stuart Shotwell. This panel will sit with the board in its meetings and ensure two-way communication on all points of our vital programs. The second development is the Swedenborg Foundation's commitment to making the ongoing translation of Swedenborg's works a basic part of its mission. As a result of this vision, we're looking forward to new phases of publication beyond the core of the theological works published by Swedenborg. And we're pleased that the Foundation's mission to engage the world with Swedenborg's works will be constantly refreshed with a continual flow of up-to-date translations. As time changes, the English language changes with it, and there will always be a need to bring forth new translations to engage and inspire generations to come. And as scholarship on Swedenborg's works continues, we'll be able to understand and communicate his message better and better as time goes on. To enable this ongoing translation effort, a new fund has been initiated, and the first contributions toward building it have been received. It's my great honor that the new fund was given my name and so bears the title of the Jonathan S. Rose Translation Endowment Fund. As you can imagine, I heartily endorse its purpose. It's the fulfillment of a lifelong dream for me to know that using this fund as its engine, the Foundation will carry forth the work of translating Swedenborg's works in the decades to come, following the high standards that we have endeavored to set in the New Century Edition. And finally, I'd like to say that with your help, we will make these great common dreams come true. We would not be where we are without your support in years past, and your support now will make the future possible. In that sense, the future is not out there somewhere in the years to come. The future is with us now, because the future is you.
Well, thank you, everyone, for those great reports. It's I'm finding this format actually is very nice for that. So thanks again. We now have some routine business to conduct, starting with the approval of the minutes from the 2020 annual meeting. Earlier in the meeting, we asked anyone with corrections to enter them into the Q&A chat of the webinar. We have our association secretary, Pete Toot, on this call. Pete, have there been any corrections received?
No, we haven't gotten any questions on the minutes.
Thank you.
Here's, excuse me. I'd like to address
The minutes.
minutes. Would that be okay right now? They said there's.
Yeah.
Thank you. There's on line new business on line 11. I talked with Lisa about this. She agreed that there was some mistakes here. And my question is there a recording available for the meeting minutes from last year where this resolution I'd introduced was put into the record then?
Yes, it's on our YouTube channel.
Oh, great. Okay. So I'd like to point out, if I could here, that there's a number of problems here that I wanted to speak to on this. First off, there was, it says member Greg Davis, and I've been gifted of the divine as Mr. Right Reverend Gregory Carl Davis, and that's how I'm listed on the rolls. And I'd like to hand a donation to the vice president here. It's I'm an entity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. So I wanted to correct the record here as I'm an entity, and I've been titled by the Matrix, oddly, as Mr. Right Reverend Gregory Carl Davis. So that's an error right there. And then upon request for a summary, there's I said I had a resolution, and the vice president here said, well, what's it about? And so I read the whereas, the empowerment clause at the end, and he said, well, what's it about? And so I read the whole resolution into the record, and that's not reflected here, that the resolution was written into the record. And the technical error, that the technical issue, the nature of the resolution was that the falsified word callum it could be addressed in how I was suggesting that this term could be set back to the original language as kenna instead of the falsified term kalam. When the Hebrew was translated into the Greek, the word is falsified, and Swedenborg speaks to that in his very important concept in Swedenborgian theology. You see him in the clouds. And so that's an important thing I think we need to look at. I know it's an important thing. That's part of what I do. So, and so then the copy of the entire resolution was provided to Associate Director Lisa Hyatt Cooper for further consideration. And this is what I talked with Lisa about. It was she was directed to give this to the translation committee and for them to respond. And so there's been no official response on this resolution on what the board policy is on translation. And I was given a private communication in that the statement was made, all we do is we translate the Latin. We don't go to the Hebrew word for amplification when we're struggling with the literal understanding of the word. We just only utilize the Neo-Latin in our translations. And so in studying this issue, I said, well, okay, if that's how you translate, then let's look at some of these terms. And I found 6 terms that are germane to this subject where Swedenborg makes up Latin. He's got faux Latin terms. Canam is specifically problematic in Apocalypse Explained 627. So what I'd like to see happen is this section 11 here be corrected, and that the translation committee put a statement on the policy of the Swedenborg Foundation when making translations. Are we only going to work with the Neo-Latin? And then what do we do about the faux Latin of Emanuel Swedenborg in 627 when he speaks to the term canam? And there's also canis and canae. So there's a few others too where you got problematic faux Latin. And so how do you?
I've spoken with the translation committee about this, and I feel I could maybe shed some light on the subject. So what they said was that the policy is that they only translate into English. So you were requesting that they translate the term into a Hebrew word, which is not in accordance with the translation policy. I can add that the policy of the foundation is not to succumb to undue pressure about how people would prefer to have certain words translated. You've brought the issue to the committee. The committee has considered it. The committee will adhere to the translations it feels is most appropriate for the words. And I really would appreciate it if you would allow this meeting to continue without any further disruption. Please.
Well, thank you, Morgan, and thank you, Reverend. At this point, I think if we had no written corrections to the minutes, I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Do we need a second? I guess a second would be appropriate.
I'll second it.
Thank you. And then with the vote of the proxies and all, could we approve the minutes, please? So aye.
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 So our next order of business is to talk about our nominations for the class of 2025. And at this point, I'd like to call on Jeremy Simmons, the chair of the nominating committee, to report on the committee's work.
All right, thanks very much, Bergen. We have 8 nominees, more than we usually have. We have Bergen, Youngie, and Pete Toot, our 2 incumbents. And then our new nominees are Chris Barber, Dylan Hendricks, Stephanie Rose, Mika Sadi, Kim Shine, and Devin Zuber. And we're going to see brief videos from them introducing themselves.
Hello, I'm the Reverend Chris Barber from Trenton, New Jersey, and I'm a priest in the General Church of the New Jerusalem. I'm speaking with you today from my classroom at the Academy of the New Church in Brynäffen. It's an honor to be invited to serve the Swedenborg Foundation because of its commitment to making Swedenborg's works accessible for all. This is very much like the work that I do here at the Academy, and for years, my favorite part of the foundation has been its scholarly approach to the writings, especially the historical research and reporting that's delivered with the deluxe editions of the New Century translations. Of course, there's so much more that the foundation has to offer, and I look forward to supporting those uses through my service on the board. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to a great term.
Hello, my name is Dylan Hendricks. I went to the Academy High School from 2000 to 2002 and graduated from the college in 2007. I am actually in the middle of houses right now. My family just moved from Austin, Texas, where we were the last 5 years, to Nova Scotia, back up to Canada, which is my home country. And we're still in the process of that move. We're in quarantine right now. And I'm very excited to be joining the board of the Swedenborg Foundation. The writings have influenced me in just about every way that something can influence a person, in my worldview, in my work, in every aspect of my life and my family, and very grateful for them and to have access to them. And I'm very excited for the work the Swedenborg Foundation has been doing to make them accessible to people in new ways. And in my work at the Institute for the Future in California, we look at a lot of emerging trends of how people are changing their patterns of how they live and how they work and how they do different things. So I'm excited to be able to maybe contribute some ideas and some time to helping the Swedenborg Foundation think about new media channels, new forms of engagement, new ways of kinds of experiences that people can have with the writings going deeper into the 21st century. So excited to be with you all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Rose. I am originally from Brynäffen, Pennsylvania, but for about almost 10 years now, I've been living in Brooklyn, New York. I work in commercial advertising as a post-producer. We handle everything after the shoot. So we do editing, voiceover, color correct, special effects, all that fun stuff, and then tie it up in a bow and send the video out into the world. So I'm particularly interested in what Off the Left Eye is doing. For the last few years, I've been trying to kind of use my experience and my connections to partner with organizations that I care about to help them with video content. My company's been really supportive of that. And so I'm really looking forward to kind of learning more about the creative process behind Off the Left Eye, and feel really passionately about sharing important messaging in a really palatable way. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you, and hopefully we can do it in person one of these days.
Hello, I'm Micah Cicci. I'm professor of psychology at Cedar Crest College. I live in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and it's an honor to be here with you. I'm looking forward to serving you and the Lord. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.
Hello, my name is Kim Shine. I live in Kenmore, Washington, which is just outside of Seattle. I'm excited to join the Swedenborg Foundation board so I can give back to an organization that's given so much to me. In 2016, I lost my mom, and that's when I found the Off the Left Eye YouTube channel. The videos there helped me so much with my grief. I'm so grateful. One of the first books that I downloaded from the Swedenborg Foundation was Helen Keller's How I Would Help the World. And that's what I believe the Swedenborg Foundation is doing, helping the world by making Swedenborg's writings accessible and available to everyone. I'm truly excited to get an opportunity to contribute. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Devin Zuber, and I'm an associate professor for American Studies, Religion and Literature at the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley, California. I'm also the George Dole Professor of Swedenborgian Studies at the Center for Swedenborgian Studies here in Berkeley. I'm really excited to be bringing my academic background and scholarship on Swedenborg to the table at the foundation. I've published quite a bit on the place of Swedenborg in 19th century American culture, especially in art and literature. That includes my recent book here, A Language of Things, Emanuel Swedenborg and the Environmental Imagination, which was brought out by the University of Virginia Press last year. And I live here in Berkeley with my wife and 2 children who are asleep right now, which is why I'm being a little bit quiet here in our bedroom. And in my spare time, I love spending time on the beautiful coast and surfing when I can. And I'm delighted to be joining the team. It's truly a great honor. Thanks.
Hey, thank you very much.
So, Jeremy, thank you very much for the nominations. And we'd like now to call for a vote on our slate. Those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, thank you. I'd very much like to welcome the new board members. First, I think Jeremy and the nominating committee did an amazing job of finding such qualified candidates, and we're very grateful for their willingness to serve the foundation. So welcome and thank you. At this point, we're ready to transition over to new business. And at the start of the meeting, we ask anyone who had new business to type it into the chat. So if you haven't done so before, there's still an opportunity. Please go ahead. And Morgan has been keeping an eye on the chats. And so at this point, I would ask Morgan if there is new business to bring forward.
No one has proposed any new business in the chat, although if anybody has something they'd like to propose, please go ahead. And
can probably move on and then to if there are any questions for our presenters or other questions that people would like to bring up. Now would be the time. And do we have questions that were entered during? So there may be questions that I don't know about that other monitors have known should come up at this moment. If there are any, please speak up for me.
So there's a question about whether or not the board is looking to spin off the left eye. And I don't know, Curtis, would you like to speak to that?
Sure, yes. If the board is going to spin off the left eye, nobody told me about it until now. So this is quite a time to find out. No, we at the foundation see off the left eye as an integral part of our strategy moving forward. When that finance wheel was up and we'd separated out off the left eye's expenses, we're just looking for ways to continue to improve our transparency and give the membership access to what we're doing. But we are more unified and integrated than ever. Actually, my position title, which previously was tied just off the left eye, is now expanded to encompass operations throughout the foundation. So we're very much seeing everything we're doing as an integrated whole that we are making strategically optimal so that we can really take this. You heard about all that wonderful success that all these different facets we're having. How can all that success feed off of the other success? And how can we look at the landscape in the kind of ways that Dylan and other board members were mentioning and find those opportunities to reach the next couple million people? So we are very much learning all the lessons we can from off the left eye and continually looking to see what's next, and we're doing it together.
Great, thank you. So we had another question, which I think is maybe for me. What is the board doing to publish more books interpreting Swedenborg's works in the light of 21st century scholarship, which is a big, big topic. So what I will say about it is that what we're doing in publishing is always something we're evaluating strategically, and I think we're evaluating it strategically on an ongoing basis right now on a board level. So if there are specific topics you're interested in seeing us address across any of our platforms, especially in publishing, feel free to get in touch with me or other people you may know at the foundation and bring ideas and proposals forward. We're always willing to and happy to talk about them. And that is, I think those are the only two questions we have, unless anybody attending has any that they would like to slip in under the wire.
Well, I think we have reached the end of our meeting time. And on behalf of our president, Soni Werner, and all of our board members, I'd like to thank you all for attending and for your support.